As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
The Flicks Tape.
They have no future as they have no past. Tomorrow as today, slavery will be their only possible privilege.
We gods, man. We kings, man. We lords.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
Aborigines, which means what? Black folks. But you never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. Two Latin words, ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. That the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity.
Remember that big Indian dude in that movie? Mm-hmm. He was cool. And then he couldn't talk unless he was talking about gum?
Yeah. You know, I think you're not supposed to say Indian either.
No way, really?
Yeah. I think you're supposed to call them African Americans.
Oh, you're shoemakers now. And more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person. And that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
Since y'all always screaming about DNA, watch what the biology professor says about DNA. Watch this.
Smith's breakdown from Ancestry showed 97% European and 2% Asian.
I'm a black girl. I am not a Jewish white lady. I'm black. My parents were black.
She contacted Ancestry with questions, but says a rep told her the results are accurate.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
You see that? DNA can't tell you where you're from. A scholar tells the truth. Watch this.
But many African Americans, you are the Native Americans. You're not even African Americans, you're Native Americans. You're the ones that they brought blankets with, was it smallpox or whatever diseases, and wiped out entire communities because they said they came in peace, but they actually came in war. And they are still warring us right until this day. So there are those beloveds of you who really don't feel any connection to Mama Africa. And this is just, you know, a confirmation, a reassurance that America belongs to you.
So Africans know this history, but nobody else does? Come on, make it make sense.
in me. And so with the help of my wife, we extracted enough saliva to send off in the mail. We were so excited to see the results. After about 3 months, we were shocked. My lizard was 51% Ashkenazi Jewish. He was also 48% West Asian. This was really interesting. They also gave us a little bit of his background and his history, what he liked to eat, etc. Let us know which animal's DNA we should send in next.
You don't have to try to be something you're not. Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine. My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. I know all of that, Mama. Then know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world, to be allowed to be. It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they self.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me get some fists and feathers in the chat. If you can hear me loud, crisp, and clear, and we'll go ahead and get this party started. Phil Scott is jumping ship. Just like grifters do, just like charlatans and frauds do, they go with what's popular at the time. They go where the wind takes them. And apparently, he's tired of gargling bush baby balls. Apparently, he's tired of whacking off ashy dicks because he's been the biggest bush baby sympathizer. He's been the biggest coattail rider for these goofy ass African immigrants. And now all of a sudden he has something contrarian to say about them. Now all of a sudden he wants us to forget his transgressions. Now all of a sudden he wants us to act like shit's sweet. Guys, if you don't know, if you're new to my program, I exposed Phil Scott months ago. Because Phil Scott, on behalf of his Africans and pan-goofy brethren, Phil Scott was found disrespecting Native Black Americans. Yeah, that's right. Phil Scott was saying some real greasy shit about Native Black Americans, and I ain't forgot about that, Phil Scott. So we on your ass, no diddy, and we gonna make sure that you know that we're not falling for your new grift. We're not falling for you going with what's popular and now making streams to get clicks and views and clout going against the Africans when you spent the last decade or so dick riding them bush babies. Oh, Lord, put a 1 in the chat if y'all realize that Phil Scott and the African Diaspora News station he got, wasn't that the biggest deflection COINTELPRO controlled opposition wasn't that motherfucker dick riding the shit? The Africans couldn't do no wrong. He sees a video about an African doing this greasy. He's making an excuse for the Africans. It was sickening. It was madness. It was unsettling. But now he's changed his tune. Now all of a sudden he wants us to think that he's a changed man. He wants to just Men in Black flashy thing us, right? To just make it so that we don't remember. Nah, we remember, Playboy. We got the receipts. And a matter of fact, before we get to this new content of Phil, let me catch you guys up on something. Let me catch you guys up on the last expose I did on him when he was disrespecting Native Black Americans. Oh, Lord, he was doing some greasy shit, y'all. He was saying some slick, greasy shit, and he thought that I was going to let it slide. But I don't forget, and I don't forgive. Let's get into it.
And even something much smaller. When the honeymoon?
Damn, Uncle Phil don't want to talk about this though.
Conversation. You claim you an Indian, and yet you get no Indian set-asides. You run around here claiming you an Indian. Do you know what an Indian look like in America? Elizabeth Warren. You know what? Let me pull up her picture. Let me show you what an Indian look like in America. Hold on. Don't cut on my page to the Indian crap, because I don't want to hear it. Give me a second. Let me pull up what a real Native American in this country look like. Hold on. Give me a second. Pull her up. Elizabeth. Hold on. Elizabeth. Oh, sorry, y'all. Hold on. I forgot. I didn't just have her. Well, hold on. Pull her picture up. Elizabeth. Hold on. Warren.
Come on, Grandpa.
There we go.
Come on, Grandpa. You can do it. You can do it. He's searching for a photo of Elizabeth Warren. Listen to the cooning and buffooning.
That's that real Native American right there that I need to pull up. Give me a second. Let me get up this great Native American on this screen here. What the hell? Why am I running so slow? Okay, there's no memory on that page. What is going on?
Grandpa, I know you an old head. I know y'all not good with technology. I'm glad you was even able to get a green screen functioning properly. Grandpa, why we gotta wait so long for you to pull up a photo of Elizabeth Warren to try to prove your asinine point? Come, Grandpa, we're patiently waiting, Grandpa. Come on.
Let me get this good Native American on this screen for y'all. Hold on. Let me download this picture real quick, just so y'all can see what a Native American looks like in America. Okay, image. There we go. That's that great Native American right there. Okay, if y'all don't look like this, if you don't look like this, you're not a Native American.
This dumb nigga gonna tell us unless we look like Elizabeth Warren, we not Native American? No, you coon. This is what a Native American looks like. No, you buffoon. This is what a Native American looks like. Shall we keep it going? Should we show Phil Scott of the African Diaspora News Channel what real Native Americans look like? Shall we keep going? They call me the king of receipts for a reason. We know what real Native Americans look like. God damn it, I'm a full-time genealogist. I teach people how to trace their family lineage. And guess what? I just met with someone 3 days ago who did the research with me, and it turns out that they descend from chiefs of tribes. I'm meeting with dozens of people a week, and they're finding that they got ancestors that were card-carrying members of tribes. But ain't nothing popping up saying they African. But Phil wants us to believe that a real Native American doesn't look like this. A real Native American looks like Elizabeth Warren. Okay, Phil, we're not going to forgive you for these transgressions. We have a good memory over here.
Yeah. Now you wonder why I do what I do, because you old head coon-ass Sambo clowns got the audacity to tell us unless we look like that, we're not native? Oh, damn. Unless I look like Elizabeth Warren, I'm not a native, guys. Let these old head pan goofy coons online tell us who we are. Guys, I'm too dark, guys. I know a lot of you guys think I'm light-skinned, but in actuality, I'm too dark. I got to be like 6 shades lighter for me to be a true Native American. Let Philip Scott tell it. Yeah, guys, it's a changing of the guard. It's out with the old, it's in with the new. Us young Black Americans know our Aboriginal roots, and we ain't letting no dying ass old head ideology hold us back anymore. No, 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 no. Out with the old heads and in with the new. This motherfucker got the audacity to tell us we not native unless we look like Elizabeth Warren. Wow.
If you don't look like this, you're not a Native American. That's a Native American in this country. If you go look at all the recognized so-called Native American tribes, all of them got people that look just like that running it. I went to see myself. So if you don't look like Native,
So we're supposed to trust Phil. Phil says he went to a Native American tribe himself. Phil, if you're an African, why did you go to a Native American? Phil, this isn't making sense. What business did you have going to a Native American tribe if you're an African? Shouldn't you be going to Africa? Matter of fact, why aren't you in Africa? Why don't you go back to Africa? Oh.
Peep game, y'all. He want to run an African diaspora news station from America. Can't make this shit up. He wants to run an African diaspora news channel grift from America. It's crazy how these Pan-Africans never want to go to Africa. They don't even really visit like that, right, guys?
Oh, it's because Africa's a shithole. Africa's a place where this is what they do to one another.
Basket man, I'm free now. I don't do freedom now. You even talk and say are they free to go?
Men are free. For my hand.
Stop chagonum again. I'm going free now.
Family.
Come on, guys, let's talk about it. Shout out to the critical thinker. Peep game, y'all, peep game. I've never met a poor Jewish man, and I've never met a Pan-African that lives in Africa.
Not forever, you don't know. I get people you see. See ya. Where we is. Only thing we feed separate family and death. Jawele.
Yeah, y'all. That's African entertainment, y'all. That's African. That's how they entertain themselves. That's what they watch. This weird head beheading snuff film. Yeah. This is African entertainment. So what does that say about their culture? Oh Lord. We don't want nothing to do with you greasy ass motherfucking Africans. Hey, peep game, y'all. You know how the Africans be online talking shit about foundational Black Americans, saying we're degenerates and we're single mothers and baby daddies on welfare, right? I ain't never seen a single mother of 44 until I took a trip to Africa. Hold up. Y'all didn't hear me wrong. You heard me right. I didn't say a 44-year-old single mother. I said a single mother of 44.
This lady gave birth to 44 kids before turning 40, and she raises all of them as a single mother.
This is one woman's incredible journey of motherhood, but she refuses to be reduced to just that.
Yes, guys, if you're new to the broadcast, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me get a 1 in the chat if you're a new viewer watching for the first time. I am known as the king of receipts, and you're watching something you've never seen before. You're watching these Africans get roasted to oblivion with facts, statistics, and videographic evidence. We ain't just doing some sassy shit like Tariq in his Twitter spaces, talking to trannies, making your mama jokes with Africans. No, we pulling up the footage. We killing them with facts and receipts.
Heading to Uganda to meet her and hear from her kids for what is sure to be an emotional roller coaster. Mama Uganda's story is a sad one. Forced into marriage at 12 years old, she gave birth 16 times to quintuple.
Yeah, you greasy ass Africans. This woman was sold into sex slavery by her. Oh wait, I gotta go to the beginning. She was abandoned by her mother when she was 3 days old. Then when she was 12 years old, her daddy sold her to a middle-aged man as a sex slave for some goats and cattle.
Triplets, and twins before getting abandoned by her husband to raise all 44 kids on her own while working 3 jobs.
Do you have any relationship with your mother at all?
That since that day when her mom abandoned her when she was 3 days, she has never seen her mom. That her father.
Damn, since her mama abandoned her when she was 3 days old, she has never seen her mom. And then her daddy waited until she got to the ripe age of 12 so that she can be sold as a child bride. These greasy ass fucking Africans. Hey, Phil runs an African diaspora news channel. I bet you he ain't never covered this shit. I bet you only learning about this on Mike TV and all on the African diaspora news channel, huh?
He's still alive, the one who married her off when she was 12 years old.
How did that happen? Because when you were 12, you probably didn't have much of a choice.
For her, she believes her father sold her because he was given cows, goats, and money. So it's like she was sold off.
Oh, she was sold off.
Yeah.
Just so the father could.
Yeah. Get those
That's
stuff.
terrible.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking.
And shout out to Safe Brother. Safe Brother says, first time I heard this story. Guys, I feel burdened with purpose because what I do is I package historical education and an entertaining method for you to digest. You ain't heard of this, right? Well, guess what? You should definitely stick around for the next live stream. Right after this broadcast ends, don't go anywhere. There's going to be a 10-second countdown, and it's automatically going to push you into the next live stream. And guess what we're discussing on the next live stream? Something that, once again, I bet you guys have never heard of. In the next live stream, we're going to discuss the hundreds of Native Black Americans that Abraham Lincoln killed. Yes, they want to make us think that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves and he liked black people. This motherfucker got blood on his hands. Y'all ain't never heard of Lincolnia. Y'all ain't never heard of Ayala Vache. Y'all ain't never heard of the freed blacks that he sent as colonists to Haiti to go die in squalor because he didn't want free black people in America. Y'all ain't never heard of this. But this is what we're going to get into on the next live stream. Buckle up.
There's one father to all the kids, right?
Yeah.
And why is he not here helping raise the kids?
The main reason actually why the man abandoned her because that she produced a lot.
So he.
Damn, these degenerate ass African men. He gets a 12-year-old bride when he's 45, gets her knocked up. She's having 44 kids. He abandons her, and then she about to say he started a few other side families. This one single African man is a father of 44 children with her, plus 5 other women he got children with. And you wonder why these fucking Africans are such degenerates. You wonder why they're such backward savages. You wonder why when we see them coming through holes at our U.S. border, we only see men. No women, no kids, because they abandoned their women and kids. Damn, all them Africans coming through the Mexican border. I don't see no women and children in sight.
But they're his kids, though.
Yeah.
So he just didn't want
produce
to.
a road, so he has another wife, and the other one produces one. Yet for her
Yeah,
to
but
produce
the
was
man,
Mamie.
he gave her the kids. It was his choice too, the man.
Most men of here in Africa, they don't like taking care of their kids.
You heard it straight from the fucking Africans. Most men here in Africa don't like taking care of their kids. Damn, hey, last night I had an African call into my show and say some dumb shit about the Pew Research Center, said that over 85% of black men are not in the home with their children. I looked it up in real time. We Googled it. I shared my stream. It was actually 44%. So we got these Africans online trying to tell us that we abandon our kids, trying to tell us that we're not active fathers, and they abandon their children on such a large scale. Say it ain't so.
They take care of them when they have grown up. Like for us ladies, they know, yeah, she's going to bring dowry at home, you know?
Did he treat you well in your marriage before he left you? Was he at least nice to the kids? Was he nice to you?
Deka abaana oba naawe mwali mulina enkolagana ennungi. The man was 45 years and for her she was 12 years. So obviously there was no, there's no kind of love. It's like a forced marriage. So there was no good relationship.
So the 45-year-old married the 12-year-old.
Yeah, and the guy had 4 other women, so she was the 5th.
Damn, and Phil runs the African Diaspora News channel, and he ain't talking about that African news. He taking time to try to tell us, unless we look like Elizabeth Warren, we're not native.
No, Mike is the real deal. His information is real. He's a humble brother, and he's all about the information. He's not about, personal gain or personal applause, personal credit. This is about our nation. It's not about one individual, but it's about us collectively as a people. And Mike is all about that, you know. So we stand behind the brother 100%.
If you have any doubt, get it out your head immediately. So yeah, like I'm going to continue to work with Mike as much as I can. So I want to say thank you, Mike, for actually taking the time out and talk with me and my husband. Like you definitely informed us on a lot of things. And the people out there that's watching, he will also inform you on a lot of things that you may not even know about. So I want to say thank you again, Mike.
Hey, Phil, why don't you talk about the fact that Africans are still selling Africans modern day?
They sell Africans over there. In Libya, they sell men. Even 15-year-old Libyans are there in a car, they're armed. They'll come and kidnap you, and they'll sell you for $70 to $150. And then others will resell you.
As soon as you arrive in Libya, the first thing that happens is that you are taken away and sold. Our black brothers from West Africa, wherever you are from, a Malian, a Senegalese, or any other nationality from the West, even an Ivorian, you are sold. And for what? $700.
Damn, they selling the African brothers modern day for trinkets still. And Phil don't want to talk about that. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Hey, these old heads lying about our lineage got me so bent out of shape. I ain't even told y'all. Hit the like button on the way in. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you appreciate me standing on lineage while all these fuckheads on these internet streets want to run around talking about we ain't native unless we look like Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren, then you're not a Native American. Please don't come to you the Native American crap. I don't want to hear it. Especially when those people, and you talking about you a Native American, you an Indian, right? This is what you claim, because it annoys me. After we was emancipated, those Native American tribes still had some of our people enslaved, and the U.S. government had to go to them and say, hey, you can't keep them enslaved like that. They free. But you claiming you an Indian, no.
So he's going to bring up an anecdotal example of one tribe that refused to, and it wasn't refused to free the black slaves they held, they refused to give them citizenship into the tribe. And then those black natives went to Congress and they got citizenship. So see how these pan goofies don't know what the fuck they talking about? See how they just talking out their ass? Why don't you take it from an actual black native, Phil Scott? You don't know what the hell you talking about. You should take a seat. You should just stick to discussing them Africans. Since you're such a proud African and
guys, this is why you come to Mike TV for your daily history lesson and not no pan goofies. What did he just say? Did he just say that those of us that have Aboriginal heritage were slaves of the tribes? He don't understand that history is oh so nuanced. Hey guys, let's see how we were such slaves, guys. Let's cite some sources and take a look at how we were such slaves to the Native Americans, huh? Let's see.
A close relationship developed between Seminoles and blacks on this prairie. Some white observers mistakenly assumed the blacks were slaves to the Seminoles.
Oh, damn, I gotta rewind that. He just said some whites mistakenly assumed that blacks were the slaves of the Seminoles. Mistakenly. That's why you don't go to a pan goofy for your history lesson. You go to a native black American like myself. Let's talk about it, y'all. Let's talk about it.
A close relationship developed between Seminoles and blacks on this prairie. Some white observers mistakenly assumed the blacks were slaves to the Seminoles.
It really was not a slave-master relationship. It was more a free existence. They intermarried. The children were accepted in the tribes quite easily, and they had a common interest in wanting to hold that land where they were living freely. They had acquired big herds of cattle themselves.
Damn, that sounds like a strange form of slavery, huh? They were free, intermarried, were culturally fluent with one another. Damn, that's wild. And guess what? Some of these Seminoles, some of these Black Indian Seminoles were descendants of African slaves. And guess what those African slaves thought was more important? Their allegiance with the indigenous tribes that they were now a part of, not some ties to some Africans on a continent of some backwards people that sold them to the European in the first fucking place. So why do they want us to have some weird kinship to Africa, but they don't want us to recognize our Aboriginal ties? Guys, slavery was way more nuanced than people want you to believe. Again, the Europeans thought these blacks were slaves to the Seminoles, right? Here's another history fact for you that you may not realize. When we talk about the state of Louisiana, when we talk about the Louisiana Purchase, you don't realize how much of this territory was owned by the French. Everything in white was owned by the French before the Louisiana Purchase. And even some parts that aren't in white, Alabama, Illinois, all the way up to Canada, was also ran by the French. And let's see how the French treated their slaves. Because what you're going to learn is that slavery was oh so nuanced depending on who you were dealing with. The natives dealt with their quote unquote slaves way differently. Some of them viewed them as equal people. The French also dealt with their slaves way differently.
To the church.
The first missionaries to arrive were the Jesuits, followed by the Capuchin friars. However, some of the most important missionaries to come to Louisiana were the women of the Ursuline order.
When we were within 8 or 10 leagues from New Orleans, we began to see plantations. Everyone wanted us to stop and go to their houses. And we were received everywhere with joy beyond expression. Marie de Saint-Augustin Tranchepin, Mother Supérieure.
The Ursulines understood that the key to building a new civilization in this wilderness was the education of women.
So already we're seeing a stark difference between French plantation rule and British plantation rule. Again, everything in white, and even some parts not in white, was all French territory. And the French believe in educating their women. The British don't give a damn about educating their women. The British oppressed their women so much they had a women's suffrage movement, right? And guess what? The French believed that it was paramount to their success to not just educate the women, but to educate all women in their territory, regardless of ethnic background.
Whether European, African, or Indian. Not only in Ursuline schoolrooms, but throughout the colony, relations between the French and their African slaves were unique in Louisiana. Unlike the British American colonies, slavery here was guided by France's Code Noir.
The Code Noir, the Black Code. The French have rules and guidelines and proceedings with how to deal with their slaves, but the British didn't. So this is why you have to do the research for yourself, because you'll realize maybe you do descend from freedmen or indentured servants or people classified as slaves, but their lifestyle may have surprised you. Let's take a look at the slave lifestyle if you were in French territory.
It basically spelled out the rights of the slaves. They were recognized as persons. They had certain rights that even their masters were required to respect. They had to be baptized into the Catholic faith. They could not be denied the right to come to church. If they were married, they could not be separated. If they had children, they could not be sold apart. That was some of the very, very important protections that exist in Louisiana that did not exist in some of the British colonies, which neighbored Louisiana.
The original Code Noir provided that if a slave became the mother of a child of the master, then the master was obligated to marry this woman, free her and their children.
Whoa, wait a minute. What? If the French slave master impregnated his female slave, he had to free her entire family and marry that woman? Slaves had the right to purchase their freedom. There was a lot of free people of color in Louisiana territory. That this is the whole origin story of the Creole people, right? So when people like Phil want to give us false revisionist history and say, oh, don't you know Native Americans have slaves and da-da-da-da-da, obviously slavery is much more nuanced than people want you to believe, right?
This was the first version of the Code Noir, the French code that regulated slavery.
Many former slaves purchased their family members still in bondage and liberated them. Before long, Louisiana had a prosperous and growing population of free people of color.
Racial barriers were not very firm at all in colonial Louisiana. They firmed up much later. This was a place where there was a face-to-face encounter of people from all over the world.
In New Orleans and throughout Louisiana, this global village united to form a new culture that would come to be known as Creole.
Come on, y'all, let's talk about it. Hey, slavery is slavery, but this is some vastly different lifestyles, right? Native American slaves was treated way different than British slaves, which were treated way different than French slaves and everything in between. That's why we don't get our history lessons from paying goofies. You come to Mike for some receipts. And matter of fact, when this stream ends, don't go anywhere, because we're getting into another hidden bit of history of the time when Abraham Lincoln killed a bunch of recently freed slaves. Yes, you heard that right. The father of emancipation has blood on his hands. Freedmen were killed by his direct action. And we're going to get into it right after this broadcast. But let's get into Phil's latest grift, shall we? His latest grift is trying to make us forget that he did all that ashy dick riding with the Africans, right? He's trying to make us forget that he was garbling some sweaty bush baby balls. He wants us to forget. And now he's changing his tune. Now he's making some videos going at the Africans when he's built his whole platform dick riding the Africans. Say it ain't so.
Well, tonight in the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, there's a West African immigrant by the name of Adama Diallo. Now, she is a nurse practitioner. And this woman had got into it with some Black Americans. And I want you to listen to what she says about Black Americans. Some of it I had to silence due to the words she's saying, but I'll tell you exactly what the words she was saying that was just kind of, shocking, but not shocking, actually, about, this particular incident. So let's go ahead and roll this particular footage.
Your ass back to the slavery.
Get your ugly.
Get out of the boat, you ugly slave.
Talking about you talking about a prostitute bitch. You got some buddies with some tap dance shoes.
Slave. You are a slave. Get the out of my place. You are a slave. Look at you, a dog. A dog, you living on kiosks, living on people's stocks money and coming here and giving
you man.
Get your out and go get yourself a job. Bitch. All of you guys, you are
bitch.
Yeah.
All of you guys,
bitch. Yeah. Get out. Get out. Get out of my place.
Get out your place.
I'm not gonna get you. Oh yeah, you are on kiosks. Who knows what the heck you doing? You right. You right. You right. Negro. You right. You are a Negro. Look at you. You right. You right. People ask at you. You right. Go get your ass and get yourself a job. You right.
Guys, what's going on? Both things can't be true. Both things cannot be true. We have to choose. We've got a red pill. We've got a blue pill. We've got a left. We've got a right. We've got an option 1. We've got an option 2. So riddle me this, guys. Riddle me this. Either A, Phil just magically got his Pan-African Negro wake-up call after seeing the bald-head, inbred, bush baby, bald-head, babbling bitch of a nurse practitioner. Either option A, it took that video for him to finally get a wake-up call, or option B, he's been a grifter all along, and he realized that it is popular within our culture. He realized that we are all waking up to the fact that Pan-Africanism was an illusion. It never existed to begin with. I think he's waking up to this diaspora war being a trendy discussion, and I think that it's option B. He's a fucking fraud. He's a charlatan. He's going where the wind blows. If it was still popular to rock a Ankh and a daishiki and be B1 Pan-African, then he would still be making videos like that. But now that he realizes that that's not popular no more, now he's trying to jump ship, and he think we don't see it. He think he's slick, don't he?
The words that were silenced, she was calling these Black Americans the N-word with the hard R. Now, she's been here long enough to know that Black Americans don't use that type of language. Only them folks use that kind of language. You understand? But she had no problem calling them slaves. But the interesting part is, if you know colonization, because this woman's from West Africa, if you know the story, during colonization, that was slavery too. It's not like, when people from West Africa was part of the slave trade and they sold off their brethren to the white man. The funny part is those who sold them off, they also gathered the slave traders up and put them in slave.
Oh my gosh, what is going on, guys? Look outside your window. Are pigs flying? Phil's been doing this African diaspora grift for so long. He's been making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing all this African diaspora content. Guys, put a black fist in the chat or a feather in the chat if this is the first time you have ever heard Phil acknowledge that Africans sold Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. This is the first time I've ever heard him say that. Normally, he's deflecting, he's caping, he's tap dancing for these bald head bush baby inbreds. But for the first time ever, whoa, Phil, if you're going to change your grift, you got to do it slowly, brother. You got to ease us into it. You can't just go starkly from left to right and switch up like this, because then we're going to see the grift. You got to be smoother with it, brother. Come on, you got to be smoother. Guys, isn't this the first time you've ever heard him acknowledge the Africans' role in the transatlantic slave trade? And shout out to Braxton. Braxton says 1/2 was sold during the transatlantic slave trade. Another half were already here. No, more specifically, good brother, only 4% of the Africans came to North America. Over 90% of the African slaves went to South America, Brazil, the Caribbean, which is why we still see such a rich African culture, tradition, and population in those areas to this day. Even though them Dominicans and them Caribbeans want to run around saying, me no black poppy, we know they come from African slaves.
Reminder that Dominicans are not black. We are not black. And no matter how much black Americans cry about it, we are not black. We will never be black. Yes, I look black, but we are not black. And it's just a reminder to black Americans who are so pathetically forcing Dominicans to label themselves as black. When we keep telling them we have our own culture, me no black poppy, they still force it on us.
Let's talk about it, y'all. Let's talk about it. Only 4% of the slaves went to North America. That's not a conspiracy. Look it up. Google that shit. That's the first thing that'll pop up. 4%. Now, as far as the amount of slaves, that's up for debate. The lowest number I've heard historians cite is 92,000 slaves. The highest number is 300,000 slaves. If we play devil's advocate and say 300,000 African slaves came to North America, the math still ain't mathing, because we got over 42 million Black Americans here present day. You don't get over 42 million people from a population sample of 300,000, whether it's been 200 years, 300 years, or 400 years. The math ain't mathin', especially when we know for a fact, when we know as an undeniable fact that the invaders were reclassifying Black Indians as African, Negro, and colored. So we know that barely any Africans came here. We know we got a huge Black population, and we got the government reclassifying Black Indians as African. What does that combination give you, guys? That combination gives you paper genocide. That combination gives you paper genocide and a multi-generational plot to get you off of your own homeland. Yes, you heard that right. The biggest lie, the biggest trick they ever did is trying to convince us melanated Aboriginals that we're not from here. Hey, 1988, they started calling us African American, right? Riddle me that. You guys aren't from here. You guys are from Africa. So why don't you go back to Africa? Wink, wink, hint, hint. You see the psyops at play now, don't you? Let's get into it. And our ancestors stood on business. Our ancestors stood on lineage. Our ancestors didn't want to go, quote unquote, back to Africa because they knew they wasn't from no Africa. When I meet with people and do these genealogy consultations, they tell me stories at the beginning of our meetings about their ancestors, their elders, telling them they got Indian in the family, not African in the family. Let's talk about it.
I think it was very informative, very educational, very knowledgeable, because you touched on some things that I was aware of, but I wasn't aware in detail. So it kind of gives like an insight to some of the things that are going on today from history. So I think it's very important to learn your genealogy. And I thank you for the information. You're showing us how to navigate through the system. It's worth 75 or maybe a little bit more to me.
Let's talk about it, y'all. Our ancestors stood on business. This is a news clipping from Kansas City, Missouri. It says, disenfranchise the Negro and send them back to Africa? Absurd. Impossible. More than $1 billion worth of United States real estate, which he owns in his own name, in the United States, is not easily to be taken from him. Besides, the Negro is not an African. He is an American. African is a misnomer. Why try to send him to a country which is not his own? This is what our ancestors was writing in the newspaper in the 1800s. But they want to tell us in 1988 we African Americans. Damn, truth is stranger than fiction, ain't it? But let's see Phil's latest grift. Let's see him pivot real fast. I didn't know such a big, burly, Bucci Bear looking motherfucker could do a juke slide and a quick spin move like this, but he's pivoting like a motherfucker now when he built his old platform, Dick Riding Africans.
Too. That was like the irony of the whole thing. Like, could you imagine that? You making all this good money off of selling slaves, and then the white man say, all right, we gonna get you too. We need another one, right? So they weren't in no economic partnership. So if you call them Black Americans a slave, then ma'am, you a slave too. Just bottom line. But there's people that don't like Black Americans. And when you want to talk about Pan-Africanism, you know who destroyed Pan-Africanism? It was African immigrants.
Oh, wow, guys, this is a completely different tune Phil is singing, right? Guys, if I gave you a transcript and if you read it, and if at the end I told you this was Phil Scott's words, you wouldn't believe it. You would say, no, that African Diaspora News Channel guy? That guy who's dick writing, ashy dick bush baby inbred motherfuckers? That guy? Yes, he's changed his tune. He's changed his tune. He's got a new grift. Next thing you know, he's going to be talking about, yeah, you know us Black folks is native, right? You know us Black folks is native. Come on. Charlatans, frauds, fake gurus, scammers, schemers. They always go where the wind blows.
Caribbean immigrants, people from Latin America that's Black, they destroyed it because they didn't want to be labeled as Black. They don't want to be worked together as one. They don't want to do that because they don't do that in their own homelands. You understand? They are completely divided. Look at what happened in Rwanda. 1 million people lost their life. Tribal beef, right? I've been told by many Africans that Black Americans are the most unified group out of all of them. And I definitely know that to be true. We got our issues and problems, but we are unified for pretty much so. But this woman, she thinks she's better. That's the interesting part. She's telling them, get a job, get off the government. Ma'am, you wouldn't even be here. It wouldn't be for you being on our government. What are you talking about? If you
guys, not only do we see through this babbling grifter, not only can we see through him, but he doesn't make this sound natural. It seems pretty forced, doesn't it, guys? It's kind of like he's putting on a routine. It's kind of like he's reading a script. He knows this is not his natural cadence. He knows this is not his natural rhetoric. He knows that he's switching up the grift. And until he perfects the new grift, it's going to be oh so shaky. Watch at him. Oh, watch him go, y'all. Just watch.
You don't like slaves. Why did you come to the land of the slaves? We built this place. If it wouldn't been for the slaves, you wouldn't have had no opportunity to come here, because before Black Americans fought to get these rights that you're enjoying, the folks didn't want nobody here but Europeans. They didn't want you here.
Damn, Phil, what happened? Did the Africans stop sending their shillings to you? Did the super chats from Nigeria slow down? What's going on, Phil? What's going on? You're singing a totally different tune. Wow. This is oh so shocking. For the longest, not only has he deflected for the Africans, but he's casted blame on our community. He said that we need to be more accepting towards the immigrants. He said that we need to go move to Africa. And guys, peep game, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard Phil Scott motivate us to move to Africa. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard him suggest we relocate or quote unquote expat or repatriate or whatever the fuck to Africa. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard that. And riddle me this. Why has he never moved to Africa with his Mexican wife?
So you're sitting up here insulting Black Americans, but the only reason you're here and you have what you have is because of the fight and opportunity that Black Americans gave you for coming here. Now, there's a lot of Black Americans say, okay, well, we're going to turn this video in. This woman is a danger to any kind of Black American patient. She's dangerous because she's sitting up here saying the N-word, the hard R, and slave, because call it what it is. If it was a white woman did this, it'll be held to pay. And everybody be wanting her license and everything else. And
shout out to Sharice. Sharice just came through with a Cash App contribution with a comment that says, "For my native brother." Well, I appreciate the support, sister. Thank you for sliding something in the brown paper bag.
Brown paper bag. Brown paper bag.
You got people calling about the people and reporting her to the licensing board in Columbus, Ohio. They're reporting her. And rightfully so. Because it wouldn't be right if a white person or another group of people did it and then she did it and like, oh, well, no, oh, well, nothing. If we some slaves, well, let the slaves show you exactly how we get down since we some slaves. If you don't like slaves, then maybe you need to carry your happy self back to your homeland.
Oh my gosh, guys. Pigs are I'm looking out the window right now. Are there any I don't see any pigs flying in coastal California. I don't see any pigs, but goddamn it, pigs must be flying somewhere. Did we ever think that we would hear the Bush baby sympathizer tell the Africans that they should go back to Africa? Come on, y'all. He's going too hard on the grift. He's overselling it. He's overdoing it. Oh, man. Now he's telling the Africans to go back to Africa after dick riding them for the last decade. Phil, it's going to be real strange having a channel called the African Diaspora News Network when you're now trying to pivot your grift and bash Africans. It's going to be really weird. Maybe he has to change the name of the channel. I'm not sure. Templum of Aten says, I think I just saw a pig fly over my house. Okay. Come on. This motherfucker is flip-flopping. He's a professional surfer. I've never seen a surfer in that weight class before. I didn't know that such burly, big-boned men can be surfers, because he is surfing them waves, y'all. He is surfing them waves.
And go open up your practice over there. And that way you don't have to deal with the slaves. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I do believe in working with Black people globally, but not everybody I'm going to work with. I wouldn't work with everybody in Black America. Because if you think about it, Pan-Africanism was saying, well, we just need to unify with anybody that's of African descent. But that's really what's wrong. Because, good and well, if you just live life long enough and just dealing with people, you got some good people and some bad people, even within our own groups. Even within your own individual ethnic groups, you got some bad people. So we shouldn't have that attitude. I'm just want to go support anybody Black. No, I want to support Black people that have the right mindset, the right heart, the right character, that sort of thing.
Notice how he still had to deflect for the Africans. Now he's tying this back to, oh, I don't even trust all Black Americans. We can't all be one like that. Phil, we're talking about the racist nurse who called a Black American a N-word with a hard R and told him he was a slave that should go back to the plantation. Phil, you're losing focus. Phil, you're reverting to garbling some ashy African balls. Phil, take the Africans' bush baby balls out your mouth. You've got a new grift. You pivoted, remember, Phil? Stop deflecting. Stay on task. You know why you're here, right? Jesus. He was doing so well, y'all. He was doing so well.
yes, color, I consider you, but that's not the end all be all, because I don't want to unify with the devil. I don't want to unify with someone that's speaking like an anti-black racist. It sounds like they went to a Klan meeting, and that's what that woman sounded like. I don't care what happened before the video. The fact is, she's going to literally ruin her whole work that she's.
God damn it, y'all. He's been watching Mike TV. I don't know what else to say. Phil has been watching me from the bushes and taking notes on all the successful talking points that have been well received with the audience. Now he's talking about the Africans are like the KKK. The Africans should go back to Africa. We built America. Damn, tell me he ain't jacking the swag, y'all. He wasn't talking like this for the last 10 years, was he?
Work for because she had this inner hatred for Black Americans. Black Americans are discussed in other people's households. We won't be there, and people discussing us. Like, why? We're not even thinking about y'all like that. But just maybe Black Americans should maybe just, figure out a way to help her go back to her homeland, and that's it. She needs to go back to her homeland if she don't like Black Americans. Just that simple. And the funny part,
did y'all just notice that switch up? Did anybody notice that switch up, or was it just me? He's getting back to his roots of Pan-Africanism, guys. Error does not compute. He's trying his new grift and he's failing. What did this motherfucker just say? He just said that we got to help her get back to Africa. Why do we have to help her do a goddamn thing, Phil? He was doing so good. He threw out all the popular talking points. Go back to Africa. We built America. You're like the KKK. And then he showed his ass at the last minute. He said, yeah, us Black Americans, maybe we should help her get back to Africa. Why do we have to help her do a goddamn thing? Why can't the inbred backwards bald-head bush baby babbling bitch go back to her own country the same way she got over here in the first place? Come on. It's like World War Z with these motherfucking Africans. It's like World War Z. I am the modern day Paul Revere, but instead of saying the British are coming, I'm letting you guys know the Africans are coming.
More than 200 African migrants have scaled the border fence into the Spanish enclave of Melilla. It's the biggest assault on the border in more than 8 years. The new arrivals, many from Cameroon and Guinea, headed towards the Migrant Reception Centre, celebrating touching European soil. The latest incursion at Melilla brings the number of migrants who've successfully scaled the fence to almost 600 so far this year.
Yeah, let's talk about it, y'all. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, don't go anywhere. Smash the like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. We're about to segue into our next live stream as soon as this broadcast ends. If you stay on the screen you're on right now, it's going to do a 10-second countdown, and it will automatically redirect you into the next broadcast. And then the next broadcast, we're going to talk about the blood on Abraham Lincoln's hands. I'm going to reveal a piece of hidden history that you've never heard of. I guarantee out of the over 400 people watching right now, you have never heard of the time that Lincoln shipped recently freed slaves to Haiti to die on new plantations post-Emancipation Proclamation. Let's get into it, y'all. Don't touch that.